I don't think about Bitcoin in terms of bull markets and bear markets. I just don't. It's just not a paradigm that is really helpful to me. So I'm not good at calling bull markets and bear markets, and it's not my paradigm. But I keep getting the question of, hey Brian, everything sounds great, love the content, love what you're saying, but like what about in a bear market, or what about in a downturn? What about in a bear market? So I'm gonna attempt to answer that, okay? And so I'm gonna tell you the 4 legs of my like personal finance table again, and then I'm gonna get into the 3 buckets of money. Okay, so there's four legs of our personal finance family table that help us have a steady foundation, and then there's 3 buckets of money, and I'm going to talk about how I just manage those 3 buckets of money differently depending on what is happening. Like, I recognize the Bitcoin price goes up and down. I recognize that. So it's not that I don't see that the price is going up and down, or it's not that I don't see that historically there have been long multi-month drawdowns. I'm aware of that and understand that. But I'm going to talk to you about my 3 buckets of money and how my end goal of just increasing our net worth is like always there. Like the North Star is just increasing the net worth, okay? North Star is increasing the net worth. There's 4 legs of our personal finance table, and then there's 3 buckets of money. So 4 legs of the finance table. Income. My wife and I both work. My wife and I both work from home. We currently only have 1 car. My mother-in-law lives with us and like offsets a lot of childcare costs. So like we do the normal, like both working, making smart budget cash flow decision type stuff, right? So that's 1 leg of the table. Second leg of the table, Bitcoin savings. So we choose to use Bitcoin exclusively as an alternative to a high yield savings account. We don't hold like excessive savings in USD. So we have a good backstock of like Bitcoin savings. Third, real estate. So we bought our first townhome in early 2020. We're like closing in like Christmas of 2019, got into it early 2020. And then since then, we bought 2 more primary residences and we kept the previous ones as rentals. And so those are accruing inflation to them as far as home equity. And so that's another form of backup savings along with Bitcoin, to where I've talked about the barbell of our strategy, of our savings strategy. The majority, all of our long-term or emergency fund savings is stored in Bitcoin and Southern California home equity. Okay, and then the 4th leg of the table, which is new, and a lot of people have joined the channel like since then, is Bitcoin income funds. And so because the volatility of Bitcoin is so different and unique, it allows you to, there's Bitcoin income funds that sell covered calls automatically and can throw off distributions. And so those are the 4 legs of our like personal finance table. So you can see, so we are spread across multiple things. That's not all Bitcoin. And that's the way we're just like already kind of in a like hedged or like diversified approach in that way of having multiple sources of income, multiple sources of savings, and making good decisions that way. So then with the North Star of just always increasing the net worth, whether it's through Bitcoin price going up or Bitcoin price going down, there's 3 buckets of money. There's Bitcoin, there's USD, and there's USD credit. And USD credit is the one that's often not talked about in this context. Like a lot of people talk about like, well, how can I use Bitcoin as money? How can I use Bitcoin as money when it's so volatile? Like, if I'm holding my checking account in Bitcoin and the price goes down on the day I have to pay my mortgage, like, isn't that a big bummer? Like, yes, when you look at it just strictly through that. So on that specific note, I have comments about that also, about how if you're paid on a 2-week cycle, but your bills are due on a 30-day cycle, we should do a longer in-depth video where we're chatting back and forth with Grok, the way I just did with the daily holding rate of Bitcoin. The cash flow, so even if you're in a multi-month downslope for Bitcoin, every month resets. So if you're paid on a 2-week cycle and your bills are due on a 30-day cycle, the actual band, you're floating up and down on top of the exchange rate between Bitcoin and dollars. So we'll do a longer in-depth video about that thing specifically. But just for today, Bitcoin, USD, USD credit. USD credit can, like, USD credit is a battery, Bitcoin is a battery. USD is just the melting ice cube, right? It just sits there. It just sits there and it's losing purchasing power. What do I mean by credit being a battery? Because we have large credit lines. Like we have large credit card lines. We have we get 0% interest offers like in the mail. Like I'm a 0% interest like credit card offer guy. We have multiple HELOCs, like figure HELOCs, the best and awesome. Like definitely check that out if you need HELOC. Just desktop appraisal, desktop underwriting. We even closed virtual notary. Never seen that before, but their newest flow in California is a virtual notary. So you literally, it's crazy. And then they deposit the money like 5 business days later. So large credit lines can absorb like our living expenses for months. And then as Bitcoin price starts to go back up, you're constantly rebalancing. So and then we talked about the legs of the table. So bonuses, the income can be also very lumpy. Like business owners, people understand like lumpy income, salespeople. So when a large quarterly income hits, what are we doing? We're constantly measuring, okay, is Bitcoin price going up or down? Is our credit battery almost tapped out, or is it halfway full? And so we're constantly shifting money between the Bitcoin battery and the USD credit battery in order to, again, with the end goal of making net worth go up and just with the current pieces that are on the table at that time. So I don't have a specific like bull market or bear market strategy. And I don't necessarily, I don't feel, my feeling is a very like lagging indicator of like Bitcoin going down for months and months and months. I just don't, I don't have a different strategy for bull markets versus bear markets. And when you're thinking about just Bitcoin being better than fiat money, I don't think it's actually even helpful to think in terms of bull markets and bear markets. Like Bitcoin has been on a like steep adoption curve since it was launched. And to me, that's very validating that it is catching on as the world reserve currency. And so I just view it as a technology S-curve adoption curve that I'm along for the ride on it being adopted. And so then in a month-to-month sense of how do I manage the living expenses that we enjoy doing, it's by having like large credit lines and constantly keeping those in check with USD on hand and Bitcoin on hand. So that's the way I think about bear markets and how these Bitcoin income funds specifically will do in a bear market. I'm also along for the ride on finding that out. My hunch is that on a downturn, they might experience because you're selling away upside. Covered call funds sell away upside. So in theory, the way that from my framing of it, in theory, they should perform better in a down market. In an up market is when you'll underperform. And so that's why I like adding it as the fourth leg of the table, because it's almost like I've been coming up with this term like Bitcoin light. Like because of that strategy of managing our credit battery and our Bitcoin battery, having the ability to buy like Bitcoin light, so where you're exposed to some of the upside, but you're also peeling some income off of it, I feel like almost spreads my distribution throughout the bull case and the bear market case. So I guess another a huge simpler way of answering would just be, well, like, what do you do differently in a bear market? I mean, what I'm doing differently in all markets is I'm adding a Bitcoin light to my holdings that can create income to kind of take away some of the personal volatility that you experience, on the net worth number specifically. Like if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I think you would really enjoy being a channel member. It's a few bucks a month. You can cancel anytime. We're going to start doing members only live streams, and it's just a high signal you can send that the content is like hitting and you're interested in going deeper on Bitcoin personal finance. And so, yeah, I'm just gathering a crew of people that are down to learn from each other on how we're all, writing Bitcoin personal finance advice live and learning how to incorporate Bitcoin into our personal finances. Go ahead and click join right next to the subscribe button.